All right, so we're back. Thank you very, very much for staying tuned into Pan-African Television. My name is Kwame Owusu Danso. Let me remind you that the WhatsApp number is active. It's 0260846539. And we are also streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/Pan-African Television. So you can connect with us there. You can share with us what your views are. And we will read them here for you. Let me also say a special salutation going out to all our cherished viewers across the length and breadth of this country and beyond our jurisdiction. Those of you watching us from the Gambia, from Sierra Leone, Liberia, the Congo, you know, Togo, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, wherever you're watching us from this morning, thank you very kindly for choosing us, and thank you very much for making us your station of choice. This morning, though, we're going to be looking at a plethora of issues here. One has to do with the current voter register being unfit for purpose, and that is Dankwa Institute. And Dankwa Institute's position is completely in tandem with the position of the New Patriotic Party and the position of the current president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, when he was in opposition, and that which he stated in January 2016. Also, don't rush to open churches. Clergy urges restraints. Minority to AG probe government COVID-19 expenditure. The Inquisitor newspaper said that ahead of voter registration, EC trains 42,052 officials. Daily graphic story on front page and continues on page 3. So we're going to be starting the conversation very soon. But before then, I think it's important for me to introduce my panelists. I have here with me Hajia Hamdatu Ibrahim, who is the current chair of the CPP, the Convention People's Party. Hajia Hamdatu, who is gunning to retain that particular seat. Hajia, good morning to you.
Good morning, Kwame.
And thank you very kindly for your time today.
Thank you for having me too.
Yeah. Also here seated is Gabriella Tetteh. She's become a known face on the morning show, especially on Tuesdays, representing the NDC here. Gabi, good morning.
Good morning.
Saaka Salia, obviously, you know it's late, but he'll be here. So these are the topics as I've shared with you, and we're going to kickstart the conversation with what the minority said yesterday. Now, we are going to be showing you a video of exactly what the minority said when they held, the minority, I mean the NDC said, when they held a press conference at the party's headquarters yesterday. Let's watch.
Coverage and the haphazard implementation of these interventions during the lockdown period, specifically the distribution of free hot meals and dry foods to the vulnerable, as well as the supply of tankers for water to deprived households, gives some of us cause for concern that these funds were not utilized judiciously by government. This is particularly so as we have cited media reports of state-sponsored COVID relief items meant for the vulnerable being sold in the market by functionaries of the ruling New Patriotic Party in Kumasi and other parts of the country. Indeed, we have in our possession an audio recordings from the Kumasi-based Silver FM in which market women at Tafo Pankrono have confirmed that eggs meant for the vulnerable under the cap have been diverted and sold in the market by persons associated with sex. We call on His Excellency the President to, as a matter of urgency, take actions against the functionaries of that. The vulnerable in the lockdown areas be investigated. We are also calling on the Auditor General that the amount of 40.3 million Ghana cedis, which was allocated for the Ghana National Buffer Stocks Company for the procurement and distribution of dry food to the vulnerable in the lockdown areas, will also be investigated. Again, we are saying that the amount of 200 million Ghana cedis allocated for the provision of water and sanitation, especially the amount spent on the supply of tankers of water to deprived households, be investigated. This call of ours is anchored on Section 16 of the Audit Service Act 2000, Act 584.
Okay, so we are back, and that was the NDC's press briefing yesterday. I'm going to be starting the conversation with Gabriella Tetteh, you know, over to the fact that she belongs to the NDC. I'm sure she followed that conversation, and she wants to share with us why that press briefing and why the things that I mean, why did they say the things that they said at that press briefing. Gabi.
Excellency the President, to as a matter of urgency.
Good morning to our viewers. Good morning, Kwame. Good morning, Hajia. Today, our brother Bernard Mona is being summoned to the CID. So, as part of the support of fellow comrades, the young politicians, and I and Bernard, we go way back when school together. We actually classmates in university.
You guys went to UCC together?
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
Man, go school Papa Crow.
Yeah, boy, yeah.
We protect. So, go UST,
this conversation, let's suspend this one. When I talk about NDC.
I know.
So, today at 12, everybody, as a mark of support and solidarity, who has a vehicle, please will ask that you please hoot your horn from 12 o'clock for 10 minutes in support of our brother, friend, and fellow comrade, Bernard Mona. Kwame, yesterday we had a press conference, the first of many to come. So we'll be looking forward to many more of such events. We raised 3 issues. One was on the COVID-19 restrictions, the ease of restrictions, and the EC and NI registrations. We also raised another one about the coronavirus alleviation program funds management. And then the third was on the one constituency, $1 million. You know that part of the one of the promises the NPP administration made, President Akufo-Addo made to the good people of Ghana, was to give each constituency $1 million per year for developmental projects in their constituencies. Now, according to the 2017-2019 budget statement, total allocations so far comes to the region of about a little over 400 million Ghana cedis. Now, if we were to go with the initial promised figure of 1 million per constituency, that have brought the total from 2017 to date to close to 800 million. Let me see if I got my figure right. Yes, so that have come to 825 million US dollars. Now, from 2017-2019 figures, currently, they've done allocation of equivalent of $81 million, which is less than even 10% of the promised funds for the one constituency, 1 million. Some of the projects that they've undertaken, in my area, for example, we have a recreational center. I mean, when you see the recreational center, you doubt if it even comes to 100,000 Ghana, not to talk of anything close to dollars. They have some toilet projects ongoing. They have some markets to show for it. But that wasn't really the promise the man made to the people of Ghana. He said they're going to give $1 million per year per constituency. And that has not been fulfilled. So I'd like to remind the good people of Ghana that that is another failed promise by Nana Akufo-Addo. On the issue of the CAP, the coronavirus alleviation program, you know that government allocated some $280 million in the initial period before the lockdown. The finance minister was in Parliament, I think April 8th, to inform the House that they needed 1.2 billion cedis. That comes to the $280.3 million when you do the conversion. This money was allocated to 3 areas. We had 40 million for food, for vulnerable communities in the lockdown areas. We had another 40 million allocated to the Ghana Buffer Company for the supply of dry food, which is mostly rice, cereals, also to the same vulnerable groups. We had about 200 for water and sanitation. Water and sanitation, we had in one of the president's addresses that we are going to organize public and private tankers to supply water to communities that do not have access to water. These are the 3 areas where the money was allocated to. And this
How much of the money are you referring to now? You're talking about 40 million for food, 40 million for buffer stock. Where are you now?
200 million.
For water?
For water.
And
that also included the
estimate was 200 million. It was 300 million.
In dollars.
Oh, $200 million.
Yes, to subsidize water also. It was supply of water and subsidize of water. So now our interest is, during the lockdown period, we saw how the whole food distribution program went.
Sorry, how much did government spend on ECG?
I don't have that figure off my head.
Okay, I thought you were actually giving us figures. So sorry to cut you.
No, because I'm limiting the conversation to the areas where we are interested in.
All right, sure.
So now with these 3 areas, if you look at the food distribution, for example, we had caterers that were contracted through NADMO and the Ministry for Women and Children to provide hot meals in takeaway packs for Greater Kumasi, Accra, parts of Kaswa, and parts of the eastern region during the lockdown period. There were complaints about the quality of food. There were complaints of people who were saying that they did not receive any hot meals. I mean, we did see visuals of some places where you could see that they were distributing food, like Kwame Nkrumah Circle, for example. Places like going towards the Osu area, Kumasi, because those videos also raise issues of the the COVID protocols that were not being adhered to. Now, our interest is these monies that we've allocated. It's been a month since the lifting of the lockdown. We are concerned about how those monies were utilized, because these are actually public funds, taxpayers' money. And as is the case with all tax-paying, all public funds, there has to be some accountability mechanisms involved. So our interest is, how were these funds utilized? Did we get value for money? Were they utilized the way that they said they were going to be utilized? If we're going to supply water, I know that from beginning of last month, I think, that the water bill started showing the 50% subsidy. But how about those communities where they were promised free water tank services? Are they getting the water? Are people seeing water tanks moving up and down communities supplying free water? In the early stages, again, there were videos posted both in the news and then on social media about some distribution going on. But we want to know where exactly this water were distributed to, which communities. Because we've also seen other reports of other communities also complaining that they do not have water and they're not getting the water tankers also. So we are requesting the Auditor General to take a holistic view of the 1.2 billion that was spent, that was allocated to the government for the coronavirus alleviation program. And then there's a third element. You know, the other thing also is that during the time when they do the food distribution, we had reports that some of the items meant for relief were actually not getting to the beneficiaries, and that there were diversions of these products For example, and I think that video was played, that sound was played at the press conference, where there's a case reported on Silver FM in Kumasi, that a lady went to Pankrono, did I pronounce it right? Pankrono market, and they found out that they were selling eggs which were meant to be distributed to vulnerable communities. So, and when they made the inquiries, they found that the then MC, or the MC, not then, the MCE also had some hand in this. You know, whenever we live in a society where each of us have our own independent values, there are good people and there are bad people. There are people who take advantage of situations to enrich themselves. Some people come to public office not because they want to come and serve anybody, but to think that it's a way to also see what they can also get from the experience. So we are interested in the accountability, and that we open the whole page of the Corona Alleviation Fund program and make sure that monies that were allocated to serve the poor in society was actually dispersed for such purposes, and not diversions as is reported in some instances. And even when there have been diversions, that those issues are investigated properly and corporates brought to book, so that we do not repeat some of these things going forward.
But I mean, I just want to know the premise on which your party arrived at this conclusion of sending the matter, or in fact, asking the Auditor General to now investigate the expenditure lines of the persons who were asked to lead, you know, with the alleviation program of government in respect of addressing coronavirus cases. What went into it? Because you are putting out the figures, and the only reason why you are able to put out these figures is because it was made public. So now, on what basis did you arrive at your conclusion to say that the whole distribution or the whole exercise was fraught with some fraud?
No, we're not saying that the whole exercise is.
Because I mean,
there's a special.
Okay, please proceed.
We won't be here had it not been for a pandemic.
Clearly.
Right. This whole pandemic was not budgeted for in 2019 when the finance minister was reading the budget. These are monies that ordinarily would have been utilized for some other purposes. However, with an unforeseen event like a pandemic, which now calls for marshalling and mobilization of funds to then create a cushion for the vulnerable, monies that, one, some of these funds were actually borrowed funds, apart from we going to find other sources for this money. And end of the day, these are monies that has to be paid back. When you're allocating state funds to anything within the public sector, there's always a level of accountability underneath it. But this being a specialized program and a special event where it's not within the normal budget lines that government will come and account for in the next cycle, our maintenance, this is not going to last the whole year. But for the time that we had that lockdown, and because these funds were allocated for a period, a specific period, that period has ended. But we are not hearing of any other conversations or reports from government side on what really transpired with these funds. And we are just calling on stakeholders. If government is ready, government can also go to parliament and present a paper on how they've utilized the monies. But we are asking that the AG, being independent of government and opposition within this space, comes and does a thorough assessment to make sure that these funds actually found their way to the right quarters. Okay.
Well, I'm still with a good. I still don't get the NDC's point, if you ask me. But I'll just take it as it is, because you admit that you see all of these approvals that were given were given in Parliament. The 35 million was given in Parliament, the 1.2 was given in Parliament. You had a minority there who never opposed to some of these things. And you see, you cannot come for money from Parliament without showing how you're going to expend it. So I'm sure that when the finance minister was on the floor of Parliament requesting for those monies, he would have attached to his request, you know, areas where those...
Yes, but I don't think he also put in his request that the egg we are going to supply is going to be diverted.
So what is the issue of the NDC? The issue of the NDC is not about expenditure, it's about the distribution.
It's about the utilization of the funds.
So now you should make that clear to us. Okay, so how the funds
have been utilized.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Because if let's be specific with water, for example.
Please,
I did mention that there are communities complaining that they don't have water, and they are still having to go around to find their own water. However, the intervention stated that there was going to be free water for everybody.
Clearly.
Without discrimination.
Clearly.
So where is the water that should go to this community?
Okay.
If it's a private tanker association that is supposed to deliver, who is responsible for it?
Okay.
Why has it not reached its target?
I see what you mean. So especially when for instance, NADMO came out with their the list of vulnerable in society, and they pegged it at 400,000. And then you realize subsequently that some people, when Amma did her market thing, you realize that most of these people who fell under the ambit of vulnerable, so I see where you're going with this. Okay, right. Okay, no problem. Saaka, good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you very kindly for your time. And I know why you're smiling, but we are still the best of friends, whether you like it or not. You know, I posted a video on Facebook, and you know what even made the thing so funny? Hajia giggled a little. You know, when I asked him a question about, when I brought to the fore the things he had said, you giggled. So, oh my goodness, like a special expression, you know, but welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Kwame.
Hajia, please, let's hear from you on this subject matter. NDC is asking the Auditor General to probe government COVID-19 expenditure. In fact, I wouldn't be a hypocrite. I have also called for that, but I did call for that long time ago. I was asking for us to probe into the COVID-19 fund and how much the fund has realized and what the monies realized from the fund are being used for. So that was my, and also I had an issue with NADMO's distribution of the food and things like that, because I do know that some of my sisters and brothers, the Kais and things like that, most of them complained that they never benefited from any of the food that were shared. So I had a problem with that, and I wanted for an investigation, thorough one for that matter, into those matters, you know. But let's hear from you on this subject matter as well.
And then good morning to Saaka and the crew.
Good morning, Hajia.
I'd like to say a very good morning to our cherished viewers out there, and especially the members of the Convention People's Party. People did not find any listing to put the Convention People's Party on the list of...
no, when is your primaries? And then...
And I have good news for the delegates of the Convention People's Party.
Please,
and I want them to remain calm. Things are being worked out for us to go to our Congress. Now that the social gathering is about 100, we can look at regional or constituency-based elections, and peace is finally coming to the Convention People's Party, because both the defendants and the plaintiff have been able to see reasons why we should bury our differences and move this party forward. So I'm grateful to the Council of Elders, the chairman, those who came to mediate between the plaintiff and the defendant. I say kudos to my regional chairman, my able regional chairman, who stood by the party to make sure they broke up peace. So I want to assure the good people of the party that we will soon get to the end of our problems. Why? Because Ghanaians need an alternative, not just an alternative, but a better alternative. Now,
like the NDC.
You speak for them, I don't speak for them. I speak for my party. Calling for, I think before I even go there, I think we have to remind our cherished brewers that we should still observe the protocols that we've been told to observe, social distances, covering of our faces, the nose and mask, nose mask, and then make sure our environment is clean, hygienically clean. We wash our hands. Yesterday, I visited some 3 offices, including my office 4. I had to wash my hands 4 times.
I see.
It is good for us.
Clearly.
When I was washing my hands in the office, then the guy said, "Oh, Hajia, you're going to wash your hands." And I said, "You wash something." I washed my hands downstairs. When I was about to perform ablution, when I washed my hands, as if I went to the fitting shop to pull something. So it is in the air. We have to protect ourselves. Investigating the, should I say, accounts or monies that were collected during the COVID-19 and how it was spent, and calling on the AG to investigate. It is in order, but I'm not sure the NDC are saying the AG, is it? Auditor General should put whatever is in front of him just to investigate the COVID-19. I'm sure if you look at the Constitution, I cannot quote the articles, the Auditor General has the time to audit certain governmental organizations and what have you. So I'm sure at the right time, since it was Parliament that approved the money that was spent by was it the one the Minister of Finance asked for, there will be a time that they will account for what they came to ask for. You ask a question like, when a minister comes to...
Okay, Hajia, just hold on for me for a second. Let's go for this quick commercial break and then we shall return shortly. Quick commercial break, stay with us.
Well, my mic is not working.
Probably. Welcome back. Apologies for that. I just sorry to truncate your chain of thought. Please.
You're really. So I think the AG is being called upon to investigate the COVID-19. Let me put it account. I earlier on said that it is the duty of the AG to maybe investigate or maybe audit any expenditure that has been approved by Parliament and so on and so forth. So I think when the time comes, the Auditor General will do his work.
Okay.
But I'm not sure, because of the press conference yesterday, today, no, he will start asking for the books to audit.
But let's look at the CP. Okay, when you're done.
And if you look at the restrictions that have been partially relaxed by the president concerning the 100 worshippers and so on and so forth, I still think that churches and mosques, I don't know how my mosques in Kwabenya and for that matter Nima police station, I don't know how we are going to congregate there and observe all the protocols. And I read what they said churches could do, and then that they have to get an isolation room where maybe if somebody is not feeling fine. But in the mosque we don't have that. Okay. We don't have that. It's just a one big room, and then it is demarcated in such a way the women are at the back. So the mosques that I attend, Kwabenya and then Nima police station, that's where I worship on Friday, I don't see something like that. But I think we can still worship wherever we are, especially Muslims or Saaka. Wherever you are, you can pray. Yeah. But you know, we normally go to the mosque because of, particularly because of the sermon that they preach, especially on Friday, the Hutuba. You learn a lot, you get closer to your religion, the do's and don'ts. That is what we are missing. But if you go on social media, our imams are doing very well. They preach, we listen. So instead of us buying details and looking at funny things on social media, I think if we watch our imams on social media doing the hutuba and maybe explaining in English and Hausa and Twi, I think we can learn more. But some of the mosques, like the Abosu Okai Mosque, where we go to worship, I don't know how we can restrict 100 people to enter. Is it that we are going to have somebody at the gate and be counting 1, 2, 3? When it is 100, then you stop the people from coming. Even the chief imam, when he's coming, his entourage is about 20. So is it that when they get to 80, they will stop and say, okay, since the chief imam is coming with his 20 people, it's a bit difficult. And I think for me, the Convention People's Party, we are yet to have our National Congress. And then even if you look at the smallest region, that's Northeast, with 6 constituencies, times 9 will give you what?
My mathematics is not good.
Is it 72? Am I right?
What times 9?
6 times 9?
54.
54. Okay, so 54 delegates plus 9 executive, that will give you about 63. 63. You see, so which means they are within the 100 that they can have their conference. If you come to Savannah, they can still have, because they are not up to 100. But if you go to Upper East, we have 15 constituencies. So how are we going to do it? Maybe we can divide them into 2 and say the first group should come and vote from 8 to 10. About 60 people can vote. Then you go. And then the next batch will come and vote. Likewise, Upper West, we can do that. But when you come to Ashanti region, Greater Accra, and Eastern region, that is where we are going to have some problems, because that's the biggest regions. If you take Greater Ashanti region, that we have 47 constituencies. 47 constituencies times 9 plus 9. That's where we are going to have a challenge. How are we going to do it? Either we'll say, okay, fine. 400, we'll have them in clusters. Maybe 10 constituencies at one place, another constituency at one place. Or we can still have it at the same place, but we'll observe the protocols. From 8 to this, 100 people have voted. From this time to this time, 100, so that we collect the results. I think we can have a way out. But what we can also educate our members is that you don't have to stay when you vote. You have to go. The Electoral Commission will declare the results. Maybe the agents... When
do you intend to go for the Congress?
Oh, by ending of this Monday, we should be able to resolve everything. And then, so you see, we can tell our people that as soon as you vote, you go.
What do you do with the new register or the old one?
But the agents, we have our register in our office.
So we
are not using EC register.
Oh, I see.
We are using the delegates of the convention people. It's not a national election.
Okay.
It's not a national election. Okay. So therefore, if you vote, then you go. The agents of the candidates will be around, so that at the time of collating of the results, you can have, because 9 executives, so 9 polling agents, and then the electoral commission. Okay. They'll collate the results and then declare region by region or constituency by constituency. We are looking at all that because we have to go to the Congress, elect our officers and elect our flag bearer. Even though it's late in the day, but I think even 2 months in an election is because
it's crucial. It's crucial. We can do a lot.
We can do a lot. Yeah. Because as for the campaign, everybody is doing the campaign already. All political parties are known to be doing 1 or 2 things. But the actual campaign is 3 months. It's 3 months continuous. So I think we'll get there. So we'll see what the restaurants do, the drinking spots, and so on and so forth. We still have to observe the social distance. But you know, Kwame, we're talking about social distancing. We can't do this because of COVID-19. We can't do this. But have we visited our markets? We're still not observing the social distance in the market very well. My prayer is that what can we do? Because this morning when I was coming, I heard that there's one man in Kumasi, I don't know whether it's a doctor, who has developed is it a machine that can test patients to see whether it's malaria or COVID-19 or something. And that machine is still with the Food and Drug, is it food?
FDA, Food and Drug Authority.
And then they are yet to even respond to that. If we have Ghanaian doctors, Ghanaian people who can sort of produce made in Ghana goods that we can use, I don't see why we should go and spend millions of dollars importing people and enriching people's economy whilst our economy is suffering. This COVID-19 has taught us a lesson. That's as Africans and for that matter Ghanaians, what can we do to stand on the way CPP is talking about self-reliance, self-determination? What are we doing? Is it lost in our memory? That's why we can import things that, excuse me, some people may be part of this COVID-19 and then they will devolve some case and what have you, and then we will use our money to go and buy it. If we have doctors and scientists in this country who are doing that, that is where I want our focus to be. That maybe the money that we've been able to raise on this COVID-19 thing, how much did we get? Okay. Can we invest this money into buying such kits from our own scientists? Okay. And then that will boost our economy instead of us buying things from abroad. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Hajia Hamdatu. Well, if you just joined us, you're watching the News for Every segment on Pan-African Television. For those of you who are inquiring about my shirt, it was provided by Buwadi. Buwadi Collection. The number is 0277 205454. Yeah, I see what you mean. 0277 205454. And the News for Every segment is also proudly and ably supported by Akosombo Textiles Limited, as well as Rage Royal Hotel, richly inviting, and Shekina Herbal. Saaka, good morning again, and let's hear from you on this subject matter before we look at the other issues, please.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So we were talking about the NDC's press conference.
Yeah.
The fact that they said that the Auditor General should probe government COVID-19 expenditure. I wanted to ask Hajia whether the CPP has had any thinking, if you will, about the various agencies and how they handled their COVID-19 mandates. But I'll come to you later on for you to respond to that. But Saaka, let's hear from you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Good morning to our
Did we score 100% in our, at all fronts?
Good morning to our cherished
Good morning, sir.
Viewers. Before I get to the topic, when I was standing here, I was hearing Gabi solidarizing with my brother Bernard Mona for his invitation to the CID. Bernard is my brother, not just a serious brother, because the mother and my mother were like twins until both of them died. So he's a brother. And I think that I must also solidarize with him But first of all,
yep.
If Bernard were to be in danger, I think that I would not just solidarize him. I would have been part of the entourage to safeguard his security or to safeguard him. But I think this invitation is been exaggerated. You know, this is just an innocuous invitation by the CID. Oh, you've said something, come and explain yourself. And this is not the first time. I mean, Wachijan said those incendiary speeches. He was invited. Others said, and then they were invited. And I don't think that Bernard is in any danger for anybody to say that I'm solidarizing. You know, and I'm even seeing on Facebook, people writing all over the place, I can't breathe. Blindly copying what is happening in the US, where George Floyd died through homicide. And then it has erupted. I mean, there's an eruption of unending riots in the US because of that. And people are writing, I can't breathe and all that. Then an innocuous invitation by the CID says somebody's writing, I can't breathe. I mean, where are we heading to as a nation? I think that we have blown this thing out of proportion. And we are making noise as if Bernard's life is in danger and all that. If Bernard's life were to be in danger, I won't appear on this program. I will be there helping him to fight.
Don't you think it's about the fact that 2 legs good, 4 legs bad? Because people in your party have made worse comments and they have not been invited by them.
What worse comments?
Ibrahim.
He said what?
Ibrahim said they will beat people.
They will beat who?
They will beat people. Anybody who attempts to resist the EC form. Hold on.
You listen to me.
Then this man, what's his name? Your general secretary, what's his name? John Gwedu.
He said what?
Says that they will not allow EC to do any more PAP.
That they will not?
Yes.
Oh, please.
That's what he said.
I mean, you have taken him out of context. He never said so.
Then you've taken Bernard out of context.
No. I mean, I haven't taken him out of context. I just said that it is mere invitation. And we don't have history of subjecting people to inhuman treatment.
But you
anytime they go for, they honor such invitations.
Yeah.
So why are we making a fuse? Why are we making, a whole mountain out of this mountain's hill? I mean, it's serious. So I'm saying that if Bernard were to be in trouble, I will not be sitting here discussing this matter. So let's move ahead.
Proceed.
It is just politics. People just want to play politics and they make noise out of nothing.
Proceed.
Yeah, the COVID-19.
What did he say?
Well, you make some.
People are blowing it out of proportion and making it as if like there's nothing wrong with saying I'm solidarizing with Bernard.
Not you alone. I mean, I've seen your party came up with a statement.
If he's been called, the people have been called to the police station and they return home in this country. So if my friend has been invited
who is that?
recently,
who returned to police? Oh, Massa.
So
that was your inglorious past. Your inglorious.
Let's have a decent show. I'm coming to you. You have the floor, but let's just have a decent show.
So let her have the floor.
No, she just wants to respond to
have the floor, but she should have the floor.
No, you have the floor. She just took an exception to your last comment, and I'm asking her why.
Okay, all right.
That's all. And I'll come back to you.
If your friend has been invited to a visit at the police station, as you yourself said, people have said worse, and nobody bothered to invite them. Bernard's statement, in his statement, he said that he didn't think anything will happen, but should it happen?
Oh.
That is different from those who have actually gone ahead and said that as for them, they will beat us if we try to stop any process.
Okay, thank you.
No one was definite.
Point well made. Saaka, let's proceed. Saaka, let's proceed.
So you intended stopping the process? A lawful process?
Saaka, let's proceed.
So even if you beat you, he is. It is on lawful ground. Because the act is a lawful act. Then you are stopping the act.
So
and somebody is taking go on. Let's take Article 2 and Article 4 to 1 to ensure that you allow the EC to do its work.
But they also taken Article 2 and Article 4 to 1 to ensure that people are not unnecessarily disenfranchised. So that one, it's a conversation we can get into.
You know,
Article 2,
I don't even think anybody will be disenfranchised in this registration.
And I'll play you a video and I'll explain to you why I think people will be. But let's proceed. Let's proceed.
Please
proceed.
Yeah, the NDC press conference.
Yes, sir.
I think that I wasn't surprised the NDC did what they did yesterday. In fact, as a political party and the largest opposition party, worth a salt, sometimes, from time to time, they should make noise, let people hear about them. And it came as no surprise to me that they did that yesterday. But if you look at the substance of their noise, in quotes, I mean, you wonder where they just wake up and started doing the press conference without having to, thought through it. Number one, and let the media congregate and then ask you questions. And no wonder, a lot of the media houses did not even want to ask them questions. Because, I mean, why would you ask somebody who is pretending to be sleeping? You can wake such a person. The NDC is pretending they have a message. And anytime, invariably, that they get the opportunity to let Ghanaians understand and then to even give them the mandate that they so yearn for, they fluff. They mess it up. Because they are not showing anything to show that, indeed, if you give them power again, they will do something different. Because that dexterity to govern, I mean, it's not there with their leadership. And it played clearly in what they did yesterday. So from Sami Jemfi to Mutaka Mubarak, who is a brother of mine, a serious brother, we did back, And then was it? Forcing. You could see that, I mean, they did not have. Look, Mutaka was talking about the one village, one dam. And then he indeed made them aware that government is doing something about it. You see, as a lawmaker, and indeed a ranking member of parliament, a leader, he is part of the leadership of parliament, he should have known that the first year was used to, bring about legislations. And if you look at the campaign that we did, we were not mentioning 4 years. We were saying that when we get wind power, every year we will give 1 million equivalents in Ghana cedis. So if the first year where you cannot pay monies when there is no contract or where there is no law, it is impossible to do so. So the first 1 year was used to establish the law. But in their calculation, they conveniently put the first 1 year as part of the years that we should have. We could not have legislated this thing whilst in opposition. And then they conveniently did that. Then they mentioned some projects and all that. Those projects that the MPP is doing under those projects, under the one constituency, $1 million. They are not projects that the MPP themselves, we ourselves decided that let's do this thing for the people. Because we realize the agency of the various constituencies, I mean the emergency needs of the various constituencies. And then there was this stakeholder consultation on needs that went to do the needs assessment. So every constituency came out with what they needed. Some came and said that this constituency, our problem is a park. Anytime there's a funeral or anytime there is something that we need to gather ourselves, there's no any spacious place for it. So that was their needs. Some say their problem was water, and therefore we needed to give them some boreholes. Some say toilet facilities. Some of them are even saying recreational facilities, and that brought about this what do we call it? Astroturfs that we are building all over the place under the leadership of under the whatever, because it's being consulted by Koman. So I'm saying, if you look at all these things, some of the projects are even ongoing. So you cannot just take some few ones, add the year that the law itself was being promulgated, because that year had even gone without anything. Then you add that one, and then the last year, but fortunately on our part, they decided not to add the last year. But it should have been the second and then the third that they should have been talking about. And if you look at all these things, there are projects that are ongoing. And you cannot take 80-something million and then you calculate that by 75 and then divide. I mean, we don't do that. What they did was completely wrong. Then Atuforsen also came, because they have nothing to say or under the circumstances. Says that, oh, the lockdown, I mean, there were haphazard implementation of the cook food projects. And because of that, we need to have special audits. I mean, how? How? Okay. When the Auditor General itself is, you know,
seized with a lot of
seized with all these things, they are going. What is so special about that three weeks period?
Okay.
That the NDC will be so obsessed.
Well, they describe it as sui generis. I mean, it's unique because of the times in which we are
still. So. It is ongoing. We are still under the COVID situation. There are still more monies that are being sourced for. So all those things will be brought under one umbrella. So you don't go and jump and take one
aspect of it,
of the whole project and say that let's investigate this one, let's the Auditor General investigate this one, and how about the rest? And if tomorrow there is a lockdown, because even the president has not completely eased or eliminated the lockdown situation. He even said when he was lifting the lockdown that there will be situation if we see that epicenters are evolving. There will be a lockdown in those areas, either a whole region or a whole area, so that or we put a curfew on that. So if we put a curfew or a lockdown in a particular area, and then there is need for us to go and give them food, are you saying that when you do that for 2 weeks or 1 week, the Auditor General should come within that 1 week and do audit on that one? Okay. So let us finish with it. When we finish with it,
thank you.
The Auditor General will do it a normal auditing, and then we will know whether we have done well or not.
Thank you. Abdul Basi says from Zongo Pioneer Command says the new voters register is very, very necessary for us to do it now. NDC can sit at home without registering, but me, I'll register. Okay. This one is from Tanko Mohammed from Sarah Junction 007. NDC bench Tamale. Good morning, Champion KOD and the panelists. Please tell Bernard Mona that we are all with him in spirit over here in Tamale, and that anybody who unlawfully touches him has touched the silent majority out there. All right. These are a few messages. I mean, there are a lot of them, but I don't have the time to read all of them. Now we're coming back to discussing another very important issue, which has taken center stage in all our conversations over the period. I think that after COVID-19, the next issue that has been lingering and has been creating a lot of political confusion and tension has to do with the compilation of the new voters register. Now, there have been some varied positions taken from all the political divides, but I think it's instructive that if we're going to forge ahead, if there's going to be any level of acceptance by all political parties, then we must take into cognizance the important role that the EC has to play in respect of ensuring that all parties are satisfied and that all parties believe that justice is given. Because justice is rooted in confidence, and that confidence is destroyed if one party feels that the umpire is gravitating towards the other party. So that's what justice really is. Now, on the basis of that, it's instructive to go back into time and listen to what the president said in 2016 regarding the compilation of the new voters register, which really is in consonance with the position of the MPP now. Let's watch this video.
We have to hear from the Electoral Commission, because one thing which is lost sight of in this whole discussion, this whole conversation, is that all the parties agreed that the current voters register is not fit for purpose. The argument turned on what you needed to do to make it more fit for purpose. We insisted from the beginning that we should have a new register. Principally, the NDC said, no, there's enough to audit it and clean it up, etc. So the fact that the register as is not fit for purpose is not something which is in dispute. All sides of the political divide in Ghana are clear enough about it. So if our new chair of the Electoral Commission ends up by saying no new register, we want to hear from her how she addresses the general complaint about it. And I think it is when that is done that we will be in a position to say whether or not we think that it is sufficient or adequate, or whether we believe that there are other measures that need to be taken. I mean, there are people, for instance, I know who are thinking maybe that are thinking of going to court on this matter. Saying that I know that, for instance, people have been contemplating the idea of going to court about the new register for something. We don't know how it's going to, but the point I'm trying to make is that whatever be the case, it cannot be the status quo ante. Yeah, because everybody's in agreement
about the status quo.
That the status quo ante
is not correct.
Is not good enough. So if you say that the way to improve things is not a new register, but rather X, Y, Z, let us wait to hear. Because, for instance, the Nigerian solution, when Jega decided to look at the register in Nigeria, initially, from the 73 million that were registered in 2011, process of fingerprint identification allowed him to wean 4 million people off the register. And then they then created the new voters register, which incorporated the biometric data of each voter. There's a chip that went into the permanent voter's card in which your biometric details were there. He created it for 68 million people. At the end of the day, 58 million were the ones who came forward for the register. You can ask yourself...
By that process?
By that process. You can ask yourself the question, whether or not it was because people were tired, were not bothering to come, or whether in fact those were people that were really non-existent. He has not been able to find an answer. I don't think you'll ever be able to find an answer. But at the end of the day, it meant that something like 14 million people were shorn off the Nigerian register of 73 million to bring it down to the 58 million. And very interesting fact. Goodluck Jonathan, in 2011, beat Muhammadu Buhari by over 10 million votes. When the register shrank from 73 plus million to 58 million, not only did he lose, but his own vote came down by 10 million. The man who had won the election with 22 million votes in 2011.
It's a curious connection you are trying to establish.
Well, I'm giving it for important communicators and participants in the national conversation like yours to look at and to see why it is that it is important for us to take this issue of the register seriously. Because if you have a more credible base document, you get out of it. Because at the end of the day, what is it about the Nigerian experience that has caught the imagination of the world? all the expectations that Nigeria's election would be like the previous ones with problems here and there disappeared because there was a sense that this election produced, if you like, the right result. Produced the result in tune with the wishes of Nigerians. That being the case, not only did it lead to an acceptance by the losing candidate, the incumbent president, told the Nigerian population. Nobody found any urge to get up to be making, there were pockets of problems in our countries at this stage of our democratic evolution. They felt that this
So we are back, and that was His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo there in 2016. All credits to Good Evening Ghana's team, led by Paul Admotre. Saaka, Dankwa Institute appears to be in bed with the president's position then and now. Yeah, then and now. So the way forward, I mean, the president clearly was alluding to the fact that we needed to operate such that people will not feel that justice has been thwarted, thwarted in the favor of another political party, and that all parties who were directly involved in the electoral process should feel that they had been treated well and that good faith has prevailed. But what are we currently experiencing? That one party appears to be gravitating towards the EC, then the EC was also gravitating towards another party. So this whole confusion, how do you address it?
I mean, Kwame, it's clear that no political party can have it all. At one point or at one time or the other, you might differ from the EC. We in 2016, I mean, our position still remains, but the EC took a different position altogether, and we didn't say that we were not threatening thunder and brimstone. Yeah, we didn't threaten to kill, we didn't threaten to maim and all that, because we believe that we can make your point forcefully, like we did it those days with Franklin Kujo and co, who believed then that there is a need for us to have new register, and today, such a person is changing his mouth. I mean, fair enough. But I'm saying that if you look at the position of the MPP, it's not changed. We had said that taking into consideration what had prevailed at the election petition, the fact that the register itself, like what the president was saying, that all political parties, all the various stakeholders had cause to believe that the register was not fit for purpose. And indeed, even the Electoral Commission itself had come to that conclusion. The electoral, the Justice JCRVC CRAP committee itself had alluded to that. Indeed, there was the Supreme Court ruling that asked that persons who use the NHIA card to register should be given a different registration form, identity that will show that those people are Ghanaians. And indeed, when the Electoral Commission wanted to remove those names, I don't know whether 56,000 or so names, they themselves had come back to say that the process was so cumbersome and that it was impossible to eliminate or to go through the process. So there was a consensus that, we should just leave it like that and go. Even the political parties that went to help in the process, all of them vamoose, because it was so cumbersome to do so. And I even remember, even deduplication, it was the same thing. When they were doing deduplication, they realized that, I mean, the process was too laborious. And then they had to compromise and leave. We have a situation where everybody agreed that there are minors in the register. A week ago, I was debating with an NDC person in some other media house, and he was telling me that, now those people would have grown, those minors would have grown, so we should just let it be. But that is a criminal offense, you know, and for you to now say that, okay, going into an election, we can use minors so that they will vote for us to get the benefit, in anticipation that in future, I mean, in some few months' time, they would have grown to the age of voting. I think that was disingenuous and criminal acts. And in criminality, there is no, you know, status bound. At any time that it's realized that you did not attain the age for which you registered, your name can be removed and you will be prosecuted and all that. We have all these things under the current register. We've seen situations where using facial recognition technology, we realize that there are people whose names are in the Togolese register and the same people name in the Ghana register. Those people could be Togolese or they could be Ghanaians, and therefore also needed to be investigated. But we did not do the investigation. There are so many reasons why today, as we are speaking, the register actually cannot be, you know, the sanctity of the register cannot be vouched for. And therefore, for me, I think it behoves on the Electoral Commission to ensure that it brings everybody on board. But the NDC is making it very difficult. The antagonism, the adversarial posture that the NDC, you know, assume makes it very difficult for the Electoral Commission even to have friendly talk with the NDC. Mere invitation becomes something. Just come and then we talk. You say, no, the invitation came late. Whatever move the Electoral Commission takes, the NDC have reason to either doubt or, you know, to castigate the Electoral Commission. And it's becoming, you know, one too many. And therefore, that atmosphere of ensuring a conviviality is not there. The NDC, as I'm saying, I mean, they are not just stakeholders. I mean, they are a huge stakeholder in our elections. And therefore, their buy-in is very important. But persons leading them must know that they are leading a whole army of supporters. But the opposite is the case, where the parochial interests and all manner of incendiary language is being spewed out against the Electoral Commission. And then anytime the Electoral Commission talk, then that is used as something to rebut and you know, to hang them. I think it's very bad. What we need to do as a nation, the Electoral Commission, is exactly what they are doing. Go to IPAC, or that is where all the political parties, including civil society groups, merge, congregate, and then exchange ideas. I don't even know any other platform that is propitious enough to assuage the NDC than the IPAC setting. But the NDC, the last IPAC meeting, they said they won't go. If you say you won't go, where else do you want to meet the Electoral Commission? The Electoral Commission should come to a in Katia bedroom to have conversation with them. So that is the problem I have. Danko Institute is saying that they should be that broader consultation, there should be a buy-in. But the NDC is making it that difficult. That is my problem. And then the Electoral Commission communication too must be apt. They have to up their communication and ensure that they do not flip-flop. Whatever that needs to be said, they should say it. And they should not fear. I mean, they are not under the control of any entity. I was hearing the NDC trying to create disaffection for the Electoral Commission by saying that, oh, the Electoral Commission is not respecting the Council of Chiefs and all that. When, in fact, the opposite is the case. The Electoral Commission, I don't know where the NDC got the information from that they invited the Electoral Commission and the Electoral Commission refused to go. You know, and they are not even obligated. They are not under any compulsion to honor any entity invitation. I mean, once they believe, and lawful so, that what they are doing is the right thing. If today we allow the Electoral Commission to be cowed, you know, into equations by different groups, what do you think will happen to the democracy that we are all, you know, growing together? I think we need a very strong electoral commission that can stand its ground, that can stand firm on its gun and do what is needful. I mean, we've seen Afarajan in the past, where he takes decisions. He did not,
not swayed by anybody.
Swayed by any powers. He stands by his decision, and that is it, whether he's wrong or not. I mean, you must have a conviction. And this electoral commission is exactly what it's doing. The electoral commission says that they need a new register. They have asked Parliament. Parliament has approved the register. They have asked the executives. Executives have approved have approved the money to be given. They have procured equipment. There are certain dates. They are meeting with the various groups to let them know what is happening. They are collecting views and all that. And then we have some group of people who think that they must win election at all costs, and that it's either them or the highway. And they are saying all manner of things, threatening everybody. We will beat, we will kill ourselves. I mean, why would you kill yourselves? Why? Just because we are doing new register? What is? I mean, even it came as no surprise that the US and then the UK and all of them are in support of the new register. All of them are in support, and they are even saying that why? To go and then do a register means that they are cheating one political party. Why have you heard this thing before? That okay, let's go and register a new register, and then one political party says that, oh, if you go and do a new register, it means that you are cheating us, because already we have padded something in the old one, and that is what we are relying on. So if we go and do a new one, it means that the vote that we are relying on, we won't get it again. I mean, it beats my imagination that we still have people who think like the NDC, and then they still want and most of the time when they talk, Ghanaians want this register to remain. Who told you the NDC represents Ghanaians? You are in the minority, and we are talking about democracy, where majority rule.
They represent who?
You see?
They represent.
I'm saying they represent a tiny minority of Ghanaians. You understand me? They represent tiny minority. So the noise they are making, they should not describe themselves as Ghanaians. Ghanaians don't want the register.
Thank you very much.
NDC don't want the register, but Ghanaians want the register.
Okay, thank you very much, Saaka Salia. Let me come to you, Hajia Hamdatu, before I go to Gabi.
You confused me.
About the whole thing. What's that class we said? About what Kufa we said? About what Danko Institute?
Because this voter register thing, I mean, inertia is setting in, wallahi. I'm getting tired of this same voter register version.
We'll never get tired. We won't get tired.
You won't get tired. Because the issue is that Electoral Commission has already taken their decision. Exactly. They are going for a new voter register. What would the CPP do? What would the NDC do? What will other political parties do so that we'll participate and make sure our people go out there to register? Exactly. We can still engage the Electoral Commission. It has not ended. IPAC and the eminent advisors of the Electoral Commission can still come in so that we will all come together and then find some kind of middle ground. And then at the end of the day, it is the Electoral Commission that has been mandated to compile new register, or maybe to do conduct elections in this country. But in conducting the elections too, I think all must be on board. It will be very, very important that maybe NDC will rewrite their notes and come on board. Because since the Electoral Commission are saying they are going to do the new register, I'm not sure NDC will stay home and say they will not register. Are they going to take themselves out of this particular election?
Training their people.
You see, people are working. People are working behind closed doors, training their agents and what have you. What I don't like is to create an impression that maybe EC is some kind of monster, and then people will start bastardizing. But me, I've been supporting Electoral Commission for a Jan's time. That doesn't mean that maybe if they are doing something that people are not happy about, they shouldn't talk about it. We should talk about it, but we should do it in such a way that Ghanaians will understand. But if we create an impression that, oh, Electoral Commission is doing something that, hey, as you rightly indicated, from the beginning, when the MPP wanted a new voter register, let my vote count, and what have you, somebody even had to lose his eye. Yeah. He eventually died. What did he get from it? The Electoral Commission said, no, we are not ready for new voter register. Fair enough. You see, Kwame, something is happening that I'm not very happy.
Okay. What
about this COVID-19 and then the new voter register. We are told COVID-19, maybe it will take about 2 years or more. It will still be in the system. Some people are saying that because of COVID-19, we shouldn't risk and go and register. Are we going to risk on 7th December to go and vote? I want to find out. I want to find out. We have to take all the precautions. We have to be very, very careful. As for me, I tell you, if they start tomorrow, I won't stay in my house and say I'm not going to register. Then who will vote for my flag bearer? Who will vote for my candidates in the constituency? Maybe if I'm also going to avail myself to be voted for and I didn't allow my people to go and register, who will vote for me? Then the 0-0 will continue. So I think we have to find a way of getting everybody on board. That's why everybody should come on board. What can be done? What can we do so that all of us will be on the same, even though we have our differences? But let's look at the larger picture. And the Electoral Commission, I would like my good friend Jim Mensah and her team to be giving some maybe weekly briefing or on what they are doing, not just IPA, you understand? So that the good people of Ghana will know. I was surprised when we went to that meeting at Pakwesi Indum's hotel. When the ECIT special got up to explain everything, that was not what we were told. We didn't know. So I got up to say that if this were to be known by political party earlier, I'm not sure the fierceful resistance of the new voter register would have arisen. Because if you are telling me that the compilation of the new voter register will be less than maybe upgrading the old one, who doesn't want to save money? Everybody wants, because there are other pressing issues in this country that we have to put money there, not just waste it on maybe upgrading a system that we are told it has come to its end, the life and end of life, and so on and so forth. So I think let's all sit around the table and get a mediator who will be able to sort of talk to all of us. Because after the meeting with the eminent people, they came out to say that majority of the people needed a new voter register. Then if the people were not important, why did they call them to even preside over this? Are we going to call our eminent people in this country after they have said something, they will say we are not going to listen? I think we have to shift from taking an entrenched position to a position that we're near to all Ghanaians. That is how I see the way forward for this new voter register. But for me, as I'm sitting, I'll go and register if they open. Because if I don't put my name in there, I cannot unless of course EC said, oh, we are not going to compile a new voter register. You understand my point? My name is already there. But if they're going to compile a new register, then I'll urge my people of the Convention People's Party to go and register. Because if you don't go and register, after all, we'll be getting 0-0. If you don't register, then it will be negative 0-0-0-0. So please, we should be careful the way we talk when it comes to state institutions. That is my fear. We are in this country when an election was conducted and results were trickling. People were apprehensive. People went to Electoral Commission with cutlasses and hoes and what have you. The Electoral Commission had to be protected. We shouldn't create an impression as if politics or elections is about do and die. I don't subscribe to that kind of thinking. So I think let's all jojo. It's not war. We are all Ghanaians. And we all want to lead this country because we want the country to be developed and so on and so forth. We shouldn't do anything that will bring anarchy, chaos in this country. I'm not for it. So that's what I was saying.
Gabi.
I applaud Hajia on her concluding comments. We all don't want to war. I don't think any is in the interest of any of the political parties to seek war, because even for these ones who are pushing for an entirely new register and pushing it so vociferously, should anything happen, and there's even an element of a coalition government or to lead a process, a short-term process for us to get back to our democratic station, it doesn't come with Akufo-Addo as president. So whichever options is available to us, let's bear in mind that what do you call that thing itself? It's not a unitary government. It's a, what do you call that thing?
The one that has two people as presidents?
No, the one that when there's any chaos, there's national community
The
and the
interim-
mediators, the interim government, but
Yeah.
there's a power sharing.
Power sharing. Oh, power sharing agreement.
In the event of power sharing, Akufo-Addo will not be
So
president.
you are fighting for power sharing.
Nobody is fighting for power sharing. I'm just putting things in context for you.
To that last stage.
Yes, that's the more reason why we should not be advocating for any war in this coming election. Already the 2020 elections, as I always say, is going to be a very competitive election.
Very
I
crucial.
mean, I think that sometimes when I look at the events we're in, I think somehow God in his own wisdom allowed COVID to pass to dull us prior to the election, because all things being equal, if we didn't have this pandemic on our hands and 6 months to an election, I can imagine by now what the election, what the campaign environment would be like. It would be hot and fiery. Now, this EC and this their register, today, front page of the graphic, they said they are training their officials,
Yeah,
42,000,
42,025.
on the use of the BVDs, and also having a piloting of what the registration would be like in the midst of the protocols for COVID. As much as we in the NDC and some our partners in the inter-party resistance against the voters register are concerned, and some civil society organizations, we've always maintained the view that this is a very unnecessary expenditure at this time. We've maintained the view that the timing for even trying to consider this new register and even changing the entire election management system software for the Electoral Commission is something that is a needless enterprise. We still maintain our position on that, because we still believe that the voters register can still be used. Now, they make the argument that the equipment are not fit for purpose and they've outlived their usefulness and all kinds of things. I mean, here's a system where you've already spent $200 million thereabouts to bring it this far, and in just a space of just a year, you want us to just throw away all that investment away and start afresh with a new system that is now going to cost us in the region of 800 million, because that's what they wanted for the EC, for Parliament approve for them, 800 million for this whole exercise in its entirety. In a time where even for private sector, small-scale businesses, this country could only afford 600 million stimulus package to support enterprises where people's jobs and livelihoods are at stake, we still have 800 million to pursue an exercise like this. In our conversations about this whole register, and seeing that we are going for this with the CI, I really pray that Parliament really takes a second look at that CI, because we've all come to establish that should we go ahead with the CI as is laid, we're going to disenfranchise a lot of Ghanaians, and that in itself is a recipe for chaos, because there are people who hold this politics thing very passionately.
Yeah.
And should there be a case where you, the state, now acting too easy, now takes away a person's privilege to vote because of the procedures that you yourself have developed, and disenfranchising people. This is not an NDC MPP matter. This is strictly an issue of patriotism for me. When Saaka was talking, in fact, to be very honest, at some point I thought he had shifted to the side of the IPRA, and then he the party resistance against the voters register, because a lot of the arguments we make for our cause is the same thing that he was pushing until he came to the final conclusion that we are beating war drums. And when I was speaking, I was sitting right by you.
Well, let her expand.
I was sitting right by you. In fact, I got confused halfway in the middle because I kept thinking to myself,
what is your
why? But anyway, okay, as himself said, all of us are bent on our posturing. NPP is for a voters register. NDC is not for a new voters register. Where is middle ground? All opportunity to find middle ground so far, for me, has failed. Not because it was not offered, but because of the posturing of the stakeholders involved in this whole enterprise for a new register and going into election 2020. Why am I saying so? When EC first proposed this new register, and NDC walked out of IPAC and refused this thing, there was a subsequent meeting that was called to try and dialogue and see the way forward on this matter. Again, cool heads could not prevail. The EC came up with this advisory council the past week with the new evidence on the criteria for registering the bidder document registration. Even slides from their own presentations to their apex advisory body has been found that they themselves have even acted against their own comments. Now, 6 months to an election, we have the Ghana National House of Chiefs inviting you for a meeting to discuss the way forward for all of us.
How do you believe that is a statement of facts, that they actually invited them?
There was all over the media that they invited them and the EC refused to attend that meeting.
It's even captured in their letter, the subsequent letter.
And subsequently they've issued another letter.
Yeah.
There was a point in history in this country that even when the foreigners came to colonize us, the ones who were in government at the time were our traditional leaders.
True.
From time immemorial, since the conception of this country, from the Gold Coast to this new era we call Ghana, the chieftaincy institution
it's a
very institution that has held together the pillars of this nation beyond every single government, whether it has been a military regime or a democratically elected regime. They have been the constant in this whole governance process.
Experiment.
Now, if these people, in their own wisdom, have seen that no, where you two are posturing and are leading to, we are not getting anywhere with this entrenchment. We want you to come back and then let's have another conversation about this whole voter registration, bearing in mind the times that we are in. Currently, when we talk to the ordinary Ghanaians, if we are not careful, this conversation about voter registration, even if we tell people go and register with nothing, and we are not careful, we'll not even record 100% voter turnout. Because already we have a citizenry that have become apathetic in governance. We have, they're losing interest.
Yeah.
We have people whose every day, the one thing on their mind is bread and butter. Not NDC MPP. And this is not the time for the political actors to come and muddy waters for them, because we're only going to distance them more from us. The times that we are in, this is a time that all of us together have to come to some I don't use the word consensus because this one is more than consensus, where we all have to come together in unity and really find a true amicable solution to what we are confronted with. EC obviously is going for registration, and because we are going for an election December 2020, EC must definitely have some registration, whether to bring on board those who are under who are now above 18 and have not registered, or whether we are going to go for an entirely new register. Left to ask the NDC, we suggest that let's go for limited registration, limit the numbers that you have to register, and bring the people on board. After this whole situation we find ourselves, we have enough time to put in all these requests that you guys have come up with. You want an entirely new system, not just a voters register, an entirely new system put in place 6 months to an election. An election where, as I've already told you, it's a highly competitive election because it's the first time a former president is coming to step up against a current president. And we are only going to go according to records and what we are going to do for the people of Ghana. Failed promises and grandiose rainbow-like visions is not going to work this time around, because right now the people of Ghana themselves have seen where we've gotten to with all these over bloated hypothetical, I'll build you this 1 million for every constituency and the turnout of it, 1 village, 1 dam and the turnout of it, 1 constituency, 1 factory, so 1 district, 1 factory and the turnout of it. The people of Ghana are fed up and tired of those kind of big English that delivers absolutely nothing. As an Akufo-Addo's government has already come to show us the past 4 years. Let us work with the House of Chiefs. Peace Council could have been another option for us, but Peace Council also, their posture over this past few weeks makes you question where exactly it is that they are. Are you now center right or center left, or you are in the middle? But the one institution that has held it for us is the chieftaincy institution. All of us, from all of us, whether you are from the north, from the south, from the east, from the west, we all come to a family lineage. We all have some chief that we all have allegiance to, all over this country.
Saaka Salia, please.
All over this country, and we have to give respect, and we have to give respect, and we have to give respect to that institution and the people who represent that institution. As I said, when everything else falls, for them, they'll be here from Kwame Nkrumah, Echampon, Kotoka, even Akufo-Addo's father. Name them, Liman. They can give you the history of this country, but they have been constant in this whole democratic and independent struggle that this country has gone through. Let us give them that respect. If they want to have a conversation with the EC on the way forward, I think that nobody should. In fact, it is their right and their mandate to call for that, and the EC should respect that mandate. What EC is the creation of a constitution. Without a constitution or democracy, nobody is going to hold any elections for you to even utilize the EC. So it's in the interest of this EC and for all of us as political actors and activists to make sure that for the sustenance of our democracy, we allow freedom to rule, we allow for fairness, we allow for equity, we allow for true justice in what's going on, and let's allow people's voices to be heard. That is one of the benchmarks of a democracy, and that goes in support of Bernard Mona in my final conclusion.
Thank you very much, Gabriella Tetteh. Hajia, thank you very much for your time today.
Are we finished?
Yes, we're done. Thank you very much, Saaka Salia. Thank you very much. Yes, and before we leave, Bernard Mona, like I intimated, today will be going to the CID office, and we are in support. I'm, particularly very passionate about it. He's been invited, yes, because he made a statement. And all of that. Let's play the video as we sign out. But a special good morning going out to you, Mr. Kweku Sintim Misa. You are doing the watching on Facebook. I'm super excited that you made time to watch us on social media. I'll see you guys tomorrow back with Bernard Mona's video. Bye-bye.
Fellow Ghanaians, on Tuesday, 2nd June, let us all hoot the horns of our vehicles at exactly 12 noon for 10 minutes. Let us do this to protect our freedom and justice. The destiny of this country, our democracy and freedom of speech is in our hands. Remember, you are citizens and not spectators. Don't sit back and allow Akufo-Addo become a dictator. Don't allow Akufo-Addo to rig the elections. Blow your horns at exactly 12 o'clock for 10 minutes.